Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see some familiar faces and many new as well. Welcome all. My name is Michael, and this is Alice. And for the next 15 minutes or so, we are going to be chatting about Alice's very interesting history, life, artistic practice, and work. For context, Alice has been with the gallery for just about 20, almost 20 years now.
Since 2008.
Okay, so 17 years. Alice and I have been friends for just about the same amount of time, actually. Yeah. So going forward, like I said, we're going to have about a 15-minute chat. And when I was driving in from Port Hope this morning, Alice and I both live in Port Hope and are very fond of our little town. I was thinking about the conversation now and thinking about what Alice, the gallery, and I all share in common. And it seems we all have names that are challenging to pronounce. So for the record, Alice Teichert. There you go, difficult to pronounce. Oeno Gallery, and I'm Michael Vuksta. So, okay, now put on my glasses.
I'm going to move a little bit.
Okay.
Because I'm long-sighted.
Okay.
There you go.
So, Alice, from our many years, I know you have a very interesting background. Music and literature were a very important part of your childhood. Maybe you could start with those influences and tell us a little bit about them.
So I was born in a multilingual environment in Paris and Brussels, and with a mother musician. And as a child, you learn a language. And the first thing I learned to read with a mother musician who's constantly showing me the notations, I learned to read how to decipher dots on lines. And when you shift to the written language, it's the same thing. You discover its dots, shapes, and each language is an entity and has its grammar, and you learn the codes. Mm-hmm. So this is the world that I had to learn to decipher. Right. So I went to an international school, so I spoke 4 languages every day. Mm-hmm. And of course, you mix it up and you create your own language. Right. And
what did you speak at home?
Well, we spoke 3 languages at home. But in the moment we stepped out of the house, it would be French. Right. So at home it would be Dutch, German, and there was some Spanish in it too. Right. And English came later because we lived in an area where there were a lot of people from the States because of the NATO. Right. And so I learned to speak English when I was 12 with an American neighbor, friend. Right. And so we would cross over the fence and play. And
so how many languages do you speak now?
I would say good. I would say I speak comfortably 4 languages. Okay. Yeah.
How do you think your background in literature and philosophy influences your art?
Well, my story is so that I went to school in an environment where philosophy was very much part of my upbringing, or my studies, I should say. And it was also at the time when we tried to decipher again, dismantle things in order to have a better understanding. So I went into semiotics, which is the study of sign. Jacques Derrida, Roland Barthes, and I can continue to name a few, but just to Umberto Eco, the open work, l'œuvre ouverte, and it's really about understanding, not to define things fully, but to leave the interpretation open. Right. So for me, that is a very important part, because when it's too confined, I start to be unable to breathe properly. So I like things open, to expand the space of the understanding.
So how does that translate to your work?
Well, this is where I studied so many, I read so many books and studied things and dissected, and it was all in the text, in the typography setting, the letters on the page. And not only did I learn to understand that in French it's very clear when you put letters on the typography together, you have the characters, but you also have the space in between. So if you remember how the old typesetting goes, you have these blocks in between, and that's the pause in between, so that each word can have a field of resonance, is what I call it now. But if it's too condensed, then the reading becomes difficult, right? And so when in typography, you put un espace and un espace. Un espace is the space in between the letters. And for me, that was almost like a unification. You bring those two spaces together and you can create something. And that understanding, I transposed it into my exploration into my visual language, which is, again, you develop your own vocabulary, and it's very structured based on the text of understanding on how a text is built.
So in some of your work in this exhibition, you use letter set.
Yes.
Do you want to talk to a particular work, maybe Soul of Wonder?
Well, the letter set, I inherited an entire set from a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine who passed away, and he was a notable graphic designer in Toronto before the computer. So it was all letter set.
Well, actually, does everyone know what letter set is? No. What can you explain?
Letter set, it's actually a company name. There are other companies, I forget now the names, but the idea is that you have letters placed on a translucent piece of paper, and then you place that on a paper and you rub it. Basically, it's like a sticker that you then rub onto the paper, and it's a very minutious type of work. And so because I inherited these drawers and drawers full of it, I decided to play around, and actually I started to draw on them, and only parts came out. So I have this sharpness that the letter set offers to me without really including the full letters, but it becomes a drawing. So I'm expanding it into the field of drawing. So and then of course the annotation of making a text feel like there is something, but then you look at it a little closer and you can't really quite read it the usual way. And that's where it becomes exciting for me, because it becomes a visual component.
Yeah, so maybe talk to Soul of Wonder and take us through your process.
So we're talking about that one.
Right.
Yeah. So the process. I only have 15 minutes, right? So I think I have to start this way. I studied printmaking, and I learned in printmaking that a lot of it is preparation first. And then when the gesture is ready, then you do one swipe. So in serigraphy, so it's about the layers of the particular components that I want to superimpose. So I used to work with a light table, and I look through, and I see this transparency. How can I render that into painting? Now we're talking glazes, and so I'm thinking of Rembrandt, who tells me, he talks to me there now and says, it all is in the glazes, in the layers, and that's how you get that depth,
How many layers would you say on a painting like Soul of Wonder you would be using?
Some are getting quite heavy, because
it's heavy.
They are, yes. So that one is a very heavy one. The top part is really inspired by my printmaking technique, because I create crevices and then I let the substance that I want to spread into it. It sort of settles in the little grooves that I've created. And so it happens, so there are many layers of that. And then suddenly of course, it tells me enough,
Right.
you know, stop, you know. And so the top part is really with the interference paints. And then the bottom part, that's the other, this is where the confluence aspect comes in, because I've explored the translucency, the transparency and the translucency. Those are two components that are very much part of my work that I've developed over the years. And the bottom part is really more the translucency and embedding other little treasures to uncover as we view the work.
Right.
And then, of course, always the lovely surprises that come along with it, which
Yeah, so
happy accidents that become...
how much would you say of the painting is planned and how much is serendipity? Do you start with a set plan?
I start with an idea, but it's more based on sensation, feeling. So I'm not really, I mean, I have my structures just to keep something in line, pardon the pun, but I do play with the fluidity of things. So that's another component that I want to add. So it's really ingredients, you know. So the bottom part, since we're talking about Soul of Wonder, the bottom part has phosphorescent paint on it too. So if you turn it off, the light, it actually glows in the dark for a little while. And that is another, you know, with the acrylic paint having, you know, they've developed so many new materials. I like to explore that, and and it makes sense because for me, playing with light is really one of the major ingredients. And you know, you have to imagine as a child, I spent a lot of time in cathedrals, and instead of listening to what was being talked about in the front, I got sidetracked by the beautiful stained glass windows, and then, you know, I'm just totally enamored by it, and that is and then the music, and then the big space, you know, all that creates an environment, and that's really nurturing all my work.
So your paintings have a great sense of rhythm and musicality to them. Is that something you're conscious of? Are you listening to music when you're in your studio?
I used to more now, but you know what I like to say? I'm listening to that inner music that's going on.
Right.
And I like quiet now. Then I have the fan doing it. You know, I have a large studio with two fans that are noisy. And then I do, when I put music on, I try to put the music on that supports my state of being rather than listening to Miles Davis, who's going to take my attention away, and he's going to tell me, stop. You have to listen to what I have to say. I need to hear what I want to say. So that's a discipline that I've adapted to now.
So when you're not in your studio, what type of music might you be listening to?
Oh, that's a big question. I can say certain, you know, it's all very, it's rhythm, a lot of rhythm, improvisation, jazz-like, but it can be electro, it can be funk, it can be, you know, dancing stuff, something that makes me happy, you know.
So the show title is Confluence, and maybe tell our audience a little bit about how you got to this show.
Many years of work. Hopefully with a better understanding on where things want to go for me, and really actually allowing myself to bring in all the different arteries, all the different avenues, different findings, put them together, and this is what I've been doing. Or, you know, it's really the confluence from this exploration, that exploration. So now, I mean, many years later, I have that panorama that instead of developing just one channel, I'll just bring, it's like an orchestra that creates the whole, you know, atmosphere.
Right. So in terms of your influences, who, from a visual art perspective, would you say ranks high on the list?
Well, I have to go on both sides of the Atlantic. So I started in France looking at and Olivier Debré. I don't know if that is a name here, but Pierre Soulages. I actually happened to work. I had the great honor to assist them both when they were visiting our École des Beaux-Arts, and just to receive this type of contact when you work with a master. It just, I don't know how to explain it, but there is a transfer. Right. And I'm like a sponge. So in my beginnings, I would say those are two artists that are important, but then, I mean, the list is long. Right. Of course, there's Matisse also, there's Delacroix. We can go down into history.
What about color field artists?
That's where I'm going next, because I discovered the work of the color field artists in France, and especially also Jacques Bush's work. And because I was searching my own vocabulary, so there's, of course, Helen Frankenthaler, right, whom I've had the pleasure to meet several times and thank her also for what she gave me. So that's always a wonderful thing to be able to. In France, there's another one, now the name escapes me, but he was 92 when I met him, and Bram van Velde. And so it's that reverence that one can give to the people that really opened the door. They were acting as, they were present in my life as apertures, it's like, okay, this is it. And so in color field painters, it made me pack my suitcases, and I crossed the ocean in 1984. And I got to meet Clement Greenberg 5 times at my studio. I got to meet, lots of artists, Jules Zolitsky, Kenneth Noland, and, the list is long.
And this was in Toronto?
This is in Toronto because I started to work with Gallery 1 also. Right. So
and
I showed with them
was
together, 1989 I started. And I worked with them for 24 years. Yeah. So I got exposed to many wonderful mentors for me.
Just give us a snapshot. 1989, Alice is in Toronto. What was the excitement of the day? What was going on in your head?
I had to learn how to navigate again because it was a very different world. In those days, there was a huge difference between the European cultural environment and the Toronto or New York. I spent a lot of time in New York too. Right. But there were 2 different worlds. That's before the internet, and it was still very insular in a way. The form of thinking was very different, but I loved both sides, so I kind of combined the 2.
Was it a very collaborative community in Toronto at the time?
I met wonderful people there, right from the beginning, also from the literature, the world of literature. B.P. Nicol, he was a very good friend. And for him, I must have been a breath of fresh air because I came from France with all the knowledge of the people that he likes to work with. Right. So it was a great honor, to be able to serve that, aspect. Yeah, so we had great communication, and we started to really combine another form of confluence, learning from the different worlds and letting the new world emerge from there.
Right. Yeah. So we're at Confluence now. What's next?
I don't know. That's the beauty. I love not knowing because this is where it's every day is a new discovery. Right. Every day is a new reading space, a new breathing space. And I'm allowing myself to really, without pushing, I'm waiting. I spend a lot of time, I take my time now to listen and to have this, and there's no stress or, like this very, I'm a hard worker. So yes, of course, you got to get this ready here and there. Not anymore. I don't do that because it stands in my way. And so for the longest, I would not do anything. But then suddenly I have 10 paintings growing up together. So it's like tending, a whole different aspects that each work then is able to grow with.
Is that the norm? Do you find that the inspiration sort of comes in waves? Or?
Yes, very much so. Yes. And it also depends what, see, when I'm looking at the show here and I see under a different light and I go, oh, that makes me want to explore that a little bit more, that little aspect. or I hadn't seen that before. So I'm actually working. I'm bombarded by all the pieces that are, by the way, so beautifully installed. I'm very grateful for that. But I really get to see, again, under a different light, that there are aspects that I could not understand or see in the light of my studio, which is also a good light. But again, the environment affects the pieces.
Do you feel that they're communicating with each other within the space?
Very much so. Well, that's how we decided on the selection too. I felt, when I made the proposal, okay, we'll put these works together, I didn't want just have one vein. No, it's really about bringing in so many languages together. Right. Within the visual language, there's so many different languages or approaches. I call it language because that's how I function. I don't look at, I allow my paintings, sometimes they look like landscapes, but I'm not painting a landscape. It's just because I'm using a horizontal, a vertical, and then the light. Yes, of course, we have nature inside of us too. And so that's what I allow to happen. So, and it's always very text-based or understanding a thought form, a thought process, a thought in formation. So it's a movement of things that are taking place.
Wonderful. Well, I have to say, after 20 years of friendship, it's a great pleasure and a bit of an honor to be able to work with your work. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I want to thank Carlin and I. We started working in 2008, and right. What an adventure. I'm very grateful for that. And I want to thank the entire team for this exhibition here. What you've done with my work, I love somebody told me that I like fonts. So I want to know the size of the font I've never seen my name this big. Anyhow, I love what you've done, this intercommunication with the work that I offered to be seen here. So thank you so much for everything.